I was playing my show. It was a Sunday. I was playing my 3 p.m. show, my matinee, and the understudy who was performing that day, the main character of the show, he fell from the skateboard. By the way, the show that I'm working right now is Back to the Future. Okay. So, while I was playing, he just fell in the skateboard from the stage, went through my trumpet while I was playing, and I got the cut from the mouthpiece. Basically, it wasn't like it was just fell into the trumpet, and then I got the cut because I was playing at that moment. I never took that long away from the trumpet, and I feel great. It helps a lot because I'm let me heal, physically, mentally, and I'm resting well now. I'm sleeping better now. So there's so many good, the positive stuff that happened after this. It was okay. It was a nightmare when that happened, but as I said before, I feel myself very lucky to be back. Listen to your body. Listen to your body, and I know everybody has responsibilities. I don't know the situation or any particular person, but I know my responsibilities. I know. Okay, but you need to take the time to figure it out. Okay, what you're really gonna do after. The first thing that I can say to anybody is just to be patient and read a book that you really like and try to concentrate on something that you really like, besides the trumpet, of course, or the instrument, and enjoy your family as much as you can, and just trying to fulfill your mind and in a more positive way, and just think that everything happened for a reason, and just take some time off.
All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Today, I'm really excited to talk to our guest today because we were just talking about this before we started recording, but he is also in the midst of his recovery from an accident that happened recently. And so his perspective, I think, will be really valuable for those of you who are currently going through injury. He is a New York trumpeter, been on the scene for several years, and is one of the most on-call musicians on Broadway and in the salsa scene and many, many other parts of the scene. So without further ado, Raul Agraz, thanks for being on the show today.
No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the interview.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. I think that there are a lot of people out there that are currently going through injury recovery, and like you and me. And so, the more that we talk about, being in the thick of it, I think it's really going to help a lot of people. So, just to get started, you were just telling me your experience. You had a pretty crazy experience in a Broadway pit
Hmm.
recently that has kind of spurred this recovery for you. You want to share your experience with your injury?
Well, as I said before, I was playing my show. It's gonna be about nine weeks already that this happened. I was playing my show. It was a Sunday. I was playing my 3 p.m. show, my matinee, and the understudy who was performing that day, the main character of the show, he fell from the skateboard.
Mm.
By the way, the show that I'm working right now is Back to the Future. Okay. So, while I was playing, he just fell in the skateboard from the stage, went through my trumpet while I was playing, and I got the cut from the mouthpiece. Basically, it wasn't like it was just fell into the trumpet, and then I got the cut because I was playing at that moment. So my first instinct, as I said before, was just to look at my teeth, and okay, they were fine. The inside was a little sore, was kind of not quite open, but it was really scary, And when I run to the bathroom to look at myself, I look myself, full of blood, and I just run to the ER, and I requested a plastic surgeon to take a look, and I said, well, we can use stitches, and I said, no, I don't need stitches. I don't want stitches. It's gonna probably take longer the recovery, so he just suggested glue, surgical glue, and that's what he did. So he just closed my lip, and he just told me just let it heal, just trying to do not anything, and your body is gonna let you know what to do eventually. Just don't go crazy, and that's when I called my friend Bobby Shu, and he told me just trying to not play your instrument, just trying to just let it heal, and when trying to not play long notes, and just he just makes you just let it heal. Just don't play for about, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks, and that's what I did. And he told me don't play long notes, just trying to play short melodies, and trying to not make the vibration with the two, just to blow, and trying to make the vibration to come along. And that helped me a lot. So I already back at the show. It's been a week already that I'm back at my show, and I'm just playing differently. I'm just getting close to the microphone, trying to not overblow, and maintain myself to not go crazy, and trying to play the most diligent way. Those the most conscious that I can hurt myself if I overdo it, and not doing every show, just playing. I just started with the 1 or 2 shows a week, and then I'm planning to play probably 4 shows this week, and and that's pretty much what it is. I mean, what's happened to me. So I'm very lucky that I didn't mess my teeth, the inside of my lip. The cut was right here, right in the middle, right here. I
Right
don't
in
know
the
if you
sweet
guys
spot of
can see.
trumpet playing.
Can see that. Yeah, that's the bocinator. That's basically and I another thing that helped me out was because another friend mentioned that he had an accident, a car accident. He got a cut, but the cut was right here, and
Oh
he
man.
needed he needed stitches because it was a very deep cut, and he suggested to me to use Vaseline, and just do massage, and eventually, the scar tissue is gonna disappear. Okay, so I did that every night a very soft massage with Vaseline, and it helps a lot. Yeah, I feel like I'm healing well, and as I say, I need to be conscious and not try to overblow and not try to overdo, and I don't feel like I'm 100%, but I will be. I just need to be patient, and not getting anything into my head. I've been playing for many years. I'm 56 right now, and I started playing trumpet when I was 9 years old. So I know pretty much what to do and what not to do to take care of
Hmm.
my lips. So, and I'm glad that I've been studying with Bobby since 2004 when I met him for the first time, and some other friends that have had some kind of similar situation like mine. So, of course, my first reaction was okay when I look at myself in the mirror and say, okay, I think I'm done. I think I'm not gonna play trumpet anymore. I think that was the end for me. And Then the day after, when I look at the mirror and say, okay, I think I'm gonna be okay. So it's gonna take probably, I don't know. I was thinking about 6 months or a year the recovery,
Hmm.
the comeback. But I'm so glad that it took me only 9 weeks, and I'm back again. As I said before, I'm not 100%, but I'm a good 90. I could say, and of course working every day. Another thing that I'm paying attention is to my warm up. I'm trying to take a longer time for warm up. I'm trying to not
Definitely.
rush anything and trying to concentrate and to make my lead vibrate the most easy way.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that that's something that I've seen is pretty uniform to everyone who I've talked to who has gone through injury, right? Is that they
Hmm.
become, I mean, basically out of necessity, they become like laser focused on the pedagogy part, right? The fundamentals
Yes,
of trumpet playing, or of, what I've interviewed trombone players, and I've got other people that I'm going to be interviewing on other instruments, but the principle is the same, right? Is you need, if you haven't been before the injury, you absolutely need to be well versed in the technique and fundamentals of your instrument, because the worst thing that you could do
exactly,
in that sense is to come back wrong or to come back incorrectly
exactly.
on your
Yeah,
instrument, because then that would just
exactly.
facilitate other problems. Well, first of all, I'm just so happy for you that things are working out, because that is a
Oh, thank
horrific
you, thank you. I mean,
a
thank you.
horrific
It
thing
really
to have
is.
happen. And I kind of want to dive into that time that you took off, because that's a pretty critical time. I've had friends who have gone through injury where they actually prolonged their injury because they didn't trust that time off and kept trying to come back before it was
Okay.
time, right? And so, what kind of helped you during that time to? I mean, the name of my show is Trust the Process, right? So, to
Hmm.
name drop,
Yeah,
I guess, my own show, to trust the process of your own
yeah.
recovery during that time that you weren't playing at all.
No, not at all. I mean, so what I did, I was reading a lot. I was reading a lot and fixing a lot of stuff at my house that needed to be fixed.
Spring cleaning.
So yeah, just trying to not get anything into my head because when when I talk to all my friends, everybody called me. Everybody was trying to reach out, and people with a similar situation or even worse injuries than mine, and I just spend a lot of time listening to all of them and get the positive thinking about everything, because because I said before, I just started playing trumpet when I was 9 years old. I'm 56 right now, so I just needed to be more okay. That was probably a time for me to rest. So and it actually helps, a lot because I didn't play for the past, I don't know, 7 weeks, and I'm glad that my recovery was very fast. But I heard from some other trumpet players that they are still struggling with issues like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy, and I feel myself lucky that the my recovery was a very fast one. So, but
That's
basically that's
awesome.
what I
Yeah.
did. I just start reading a lot, composing some music, and I have two grandkids, and I just go to visit them, and that helped me a lot to not think
Yeah.
about my life. And
There
I,
you go.
I was very patient, just trying to not make any nonsense,
Right.
because yeah, the first, I mean, I'm glad that this happened at my age. Probably it could be. I mean, it would be different if I was probably in my 20s, and I don't know how I'm gonna you can react. You know what I mean? I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how I would be reacting for something like that happened to me at that age. I might be, you know, probably take me more a longer time to recover. For I don't know, for not to have the experience that I
Mm-hmm.
have right now. Okay, and that's pretty much what I did. I mean, I just trying to be conscient that this thing is gonna take some time to recover and patient. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think. Well, first of all, I'm just curious. What books were you reading? Were
oh,
they
I
pertinent to
was reading a
trumpet
lot
or?
of no, I was reading a lot of self help and some kind of music programmation because I love to do I like logic and I was reading a lot about logic and compositions and how to. I downloaded up Finale and I started working on some Finale, trying to learn Finale. So and some other help. Uh, you know, uh, auto. What's the name of those type of books? You like
Is it
stop.
autosuficiencia? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Something like
yeah,
that.
self-reliance and
It's self-alliance, exactly.
self-help. I mean, that's honestly what I've gotten into. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this show is because of the
Yeah,
that
you
type
have
of content, right? It's so
exactly.
helpful. I mean, and
Oh yeah.
it's really. I mean, there's so much in there that I want to just talk about real quick that you just addressed. With regards to that time off that you take, is you taught like during that time rather than trying to just like constantly be micromanaging your recovery, it's
Hmm.
really important to just like dive into becoming a better person, right? And becoming more
Oh yeah.
than who you
Totally.
currently are. Like you were talking about visiting your grandkids and your family
Hmm.
and focusing on
Hmm.
yourself with those books and things like that. And composing, like I've done a lot of those things. I'm not, I'm a, my family's in Pennsylvania, so I can't necessarily visit them, but calling them and just deepening our relationships, right, with others and with ourselves, and then and even with the music, like you were saying with composing, I think those are all really critical things that people can do while they aren't able to perform, right? Because that's
Hmm.
performing and that musicianship is a way that we connect with ourselves and with other people. And so
Exactly.
when we don't have that, that's part of what causes that inner turmoil. But
Hmm.
when we focus on those other forms of communication with ourselves and with others, that's when this thing that was unfortunate that happened really becomes a stepping stone in our progression, right? And
Yeah.
our growth as a person, right?
Hmm. Exactly.
So so I'm just curious, have you kind of as you've started to come back this past couple of weeks, how has your perspective of trumpet and of gigging and all of that stuff changed, if at all? I mean, maybe it's too soon to ask that question, but
Yeah. Well, at this point, I'm just trying to focus on. I'm trying to do my show. You know,
mm-hmm,
I mentioned that I get asked to do the Radio City this year. Well, I've been subbing at Radio City since 2011, so I'm the regular sub in the show. I never
mm,
do the auditions because uh, I don't know because I've been always in a show, so I don't feel like the necessity, for
mm-hmm,
me to do the audition because I've been subbing for all these years. So and I usually sub for every chair in that book in that show. And I play with the Berlin Big Band.
oh cool,
I'm the lead trumpet player of the Berlin Big Band. I sometimes I play with the Vanguard Big Band, subbing on lead or in second trumpet as well. And some other professional gigs. It could be another I don't know, a recording session, or I have my own recording studio at home. And I usually do is that I people send me the tracks and I put the trumpets and I send it back to them. So, but I'm just focused right now on trying to not overplay, trying to not go crazy, especially these days on December, which is it's a very busy
Busy
time here in
time.
New York. Uh-huh. And I'm just trying to not go crazy and just trying to be conscious that I don't need to overdo. And I think that in some way I feel like this is the best December, the most quiet for me has been for me because I'm just trying to do only my show and then go back home and as I said before, it take me more time to warm up and try to make my chops more comfortable. But I feel like I'm getting there. I'm getting there, and I'm just trying to not force anything. Yeah,
Hmm.
trying to not keep everything busy and trying to just, as I say, concentrate for now in my show. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. That's all. That's good. And why not have a December where you're just focusing on Christmas, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
you know. So that's really cool. Yeah. Sometimes I guess I'm still in college and haven't been. I mean, I played done some freelancing, but to do the full time thing, you don't necessarily realize how much that actually involves the holidays and those special times
Hmm.
of year.
Yeah, yeah,
um,
right.
so the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, since you are pretty heavily on the scene in New York, is that principle that you talked about with your recovery, with listening to your body, kind of what the doctor and Bobby told you.
Hmm.
That's a principle that doesn't just apply to when you hurt yourself, right? That applies
Yeah.
to when you're playing, your third gig of the day, right? And
Hmm.
things are starting to get tired. And so I'm curious if you had any, or still have any practices or kind of, I guess, a way that you think about or gauge how your body is feeling, and then how you deal with that, right? When you feel like I need to take a break. Sometimes that's hard.
Hmm.
I imagine that's kind of can be hard to do from
Yeah.
a mental stand or a psychological standpoint because it is your
Oh yeah.
livelihood, right? Gigging
Oh
is
yeah.
your livelihood. And so when you do need
Definitely.
to take a break, like what do you do to kind of help you like take that rest? Because I think
Well,
there's a big psychological part of it.
well, it's just, for example, I play this past weekend. I played 4 shows. I played 2 shows Saturday and 2 shows Sundays, and so I made the decision to not play at all on Monday. Okay, and and on Tuesday I started it take me a long. I mean, it's taking me a longer time to warm up, which that's the most uh, believe it or not, that's the most difficult part. When you're a professional and you're just trying to warm up during the 5 or 10 minutes maximum. Because that's or not even a half hour. I mean, because
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing for so many years that I already know what works for me and what not works for me. So I know myself how to, but I'm noticing that is taking more a longer time for warm up. So that's basically what I'm doing. I mean, if I play Tuesday, I'm gonna play tonight, and I might do the weekend. Might play the weekend. I have 2 shows on this weekend, and I'm planning to do the same. I mean, trying to one day at a time, and just as I said before, trying to not force anything. And what I've been doing is I implement a lot of the barbecue, the floating exercises that
Mm-hmm.
he gave me years ago. It's just
Mm-hmm.
do this for about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, trying to figure out where my chops are, trying to do how my bossing is doing. And I mentioned that I'm using a bigger mouthpiece now. I'm using a
Mm-hmm.
wider rim, a little more deep in the mouthpiece. And because at this point I can play with my lead mouthpiece. I mean, and I don't know what happened, but I feel like my sound is getting better. I getting the endurance. I don't feel like I have 100% endurance, but I'm getting to that point, and but I believe a wider rim and a deeper cup is helping me a lot to recover also as well. Uh, and I'm not planning to go back to my lead mouthpiece. I mean, I don't know, probably in the next 6 months, just to give it a try. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if I can still make a sound on the mouthpiece, and I do a lot of the bossing lead pipe. I started doing a lot of bossing lead pipe and trying to now just trying to let my the air go through without uh, s- uh any any using your tongue, just the air,
Mm-hmm.
just,
Yeah.
and trying to produce a sound on the instrument. So and I noticed that I'm getting more and more every day. I'm getting more response from my chops, from my lip. So
Mm-hmm.
that's basically what I've been doing, and I'm listening. I think that I'm listening more now on my body than I that before, because when you get in the morning, you already know what you're gonna do. You get in the shower, you do this, and then you're gonna play
Mm-hmm.
your show in a half hour or an hour, and then okay, you know what worked for you and what not. But now I'm starting listening more my body, and okay, I think this is working. This is gonna be fine. So I think
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing is working for me. So
That's awesome.
again, that's working for me. I don't know. It's not gonna work for anybody else. I mean, everybody has a different approach to.
Right.
I don't know
To the
in your
recovery.
case how your recovery has been, and
It's been a roller coaster. Yeah.
it's been a roller coaster. I know how it
Yeah.
is. I mean, it's a roller coaster even without injury. I can imagine, um, how you feel after your injury. So, and man, I totally understand. That as I say, I never thought that I'm gonna be back at the Trumpet so soon, and I'm very happy. I feel myself very lucky
Yeah.
I mean, to continue doing what I love, which is make music. You know.
Right. And I think that's what gets us through those days when first of all, when we can't play,
Exactly.
right, or when we
Hmm.
can't do what we want to do. But also, I think for me at least, I don't know if you agree. I think you mentioned this, but I kind of appreciated the break when I first took the time off the horn before I started
Yeah.
trying to come back. Like it was kind of nice,
Yeah.
even though
Yeah.
I love playing
Yeah. It
trumpet.
was. Yeah, because I never stop. I've been like I always been a hard worker, always, and I
Yeah.
never say no to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and especially here in New York, you can say no. I mean, somebody asked me to play a quintet or play with a symphony or play a Latin gig, or I never say no. Okay, I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to you know in my possibilities to trying to cover everything. So, but I never was. I mean, I never took that long away from the trumpet, and I feel great. I mean, it helps a lot because I'm let me heal, physically, mentally, and I'm resting well now. I'm sleeping better now.
Yeah.
So there's so
There's
many, so many good, the positive stuff that happened after this. I mean, it was
yeah.
okay. It was a nightmare when that happened, but as I said before, I feel myself very lucky to be back.
Yeah, so it's that rest time that we learn to appreciate. It's like this is how the other half lives, the non
Yeah,
musicians live, I guess. And then,
and it's very
but
it's
then,
very important. The rest, yeah, the
yeah,
rest is very important. Yeah.
and then but the hard part I feel like, and you'd probably agree with this, is the coming back, because that's
Yeah.
when the trust and the patience really comes in. Not
Oh
necessarily
yeah.
when like you're still within that window of time of like, this is how long the doctor or my teacher told me to take off, but when you're
Hmm.
starting to come back and it's not going the way you want it to or the way you expected it to, that's when it really starts to, to test your patience and your trust of the recovery. And so that's why it's so important to have that sense of
Hmm.
why you're doing it so strongly,
Yeah.
deeply rooted within you. And did you feel like as you were going through that stage of your recovery, that's kind of what you kept going back to, or like what helped you to trust that part of the process, as you were coming back?
Well, well, at this point, I just, man, I'm a very positive guy. And I'm just trying to, as I mentioned before, in some way, this let me hear my body differently than before,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just trying to be better every day, and the trumpet player who told me that they always consistent and he always sounds good, I mean, he's lying to you. I mean, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that. We always trying to. I mean, every day is like a new day for us. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so some days you have a really amazing and sound. Some other days it takes a longer time to get that sound. And I mean, we trumpet play. I mean, we're musicians. I mean, sometimes it's not only your chops. Sometimes it's just your mental. You're dealing with something. That's getting your
Mm-hmm.
mind away from for you to do your job, the very job, is
Right.
because you have personal issues as well. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. It could be
Mm-hmm.
anything. And I'm just trying to keep this. Just trying to be positive about everything. Just trying. If something happened, it's happened for a reason, and that's always been my philosophy. See, okay, this happened because I don't know. Probably I needed to take time off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just trying to now just to get back to that point that I feel myself confident again. But you losing a lot. You lose a lot of confidence, believe it or not, because you
I
don't
do
know.
believe that.
Okay, this note is gonna. I don't. You don't know if this note is gonna come, or this line is gonna come. And you're gonna hold that note. You know what I mean, right? And that's basically what I'm trying to deal right now. I'm dealing with that right now. So, I mean, I know I need endurance. I know I need more confident in myself, in my playing. But I'm getting to that point. So, and again, I'm just trying to be positive and trying to be careful. Just be careful
Mm-hmm.
for what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that zooming out of our current, like the moment, that really can help us to
Hmm.
see the big
Exactly.
picture, right? Of like I said, why we're doing it, like you said,
Hmm.
that positivity, like this is just the moment. There's a
Hmm.
quote by a guy I really like, actually in that self help industry. His name's Ed Milet. He always says to outlast the temporary, and that's really, I mean, that's worth its weight in gold. When talking about this kind of thing. So.
Yeah. I remember that I had a surgery on my cuff rotator cuff.
Yeah.
Probably it's gonna be 2 years already. Yeah, 2.5 years when I had the surgery on this shoulder. And man, I'm telling you, the recovery for this took me 8 months,
Wow.
and 8 months the recovery, and then after that was the physical therapy. It took
Mm-hmm.
me probably but 20 sessions because I got a pretty bad damage shoulder, and by now I feel like I can throw a ball. I don't feel any
Yeah.
pain. I don't feel any problem. But the pain, it wasn't that easy, man. It wasn't
Yeah.
nothing comfortable, you know.
No.
And I said, was if I did this and okay, I think I can overcome this thing, you know. And just
Yeah.
yeah, you know, just be patient, you know. That's
Hmm.
the only way that can help. I mean, you can't go crazy because otherwise you can make even more damage to you physically and mentally.
Yep.
And that's the
Exactly.
hardest part. When that thing get in your head is when you start failing.
Hmm. Exactly.
You can fail very easy with that get in your mind.
Hmm. Well, Raul, thank you so much for this time. I really believe that this is going to help a lot of people, especially since you're just coming out of this period of your life. And I think just to close up, there are lots of people out there that are going to be listening to this show that are going to be in that situation, right? And like either
Yeah.
something just happened or they're in like their ninth month of recovery and it's still looking weird. And so, what would be your one piece of advice or counsel to people that are listening to the show that are in that situation?
Well, first listen to your body. Listen to your body, and I know everybody has responsibilities. You know, I don't know the situation or any particular person, but I know my responsibilities. I mean, I know. Okay, but you need to take the time to figure it out. Okay, what you're really gonna do after, you know. And my the first thing that I can say to anybody is just to be patient and read a book that you really like and try to concentrate on something that you really like, besides the trumpet, of course, or the instrument, and enjoy your family as much as you can, and just trying to fulfill your mind and in a more positive way, and just just think that everything happened for a reason, and just take some time off, man. That's if you need it, you need it. You know, you take some time
Hmm.
off, trying to not fight. You come back and just be patient, and that's I think that's my best advice. And of course, trying to always to get a professional when you're gonna come back again to the any instruments. Just trying to hire or take a lesson with a professional who can tell you what to do and what not to do. Okay,
Hmm.
I did that.
Hmm.
I reached out to Bobby Shu, and I I was a very patient. He was like a doctor to me, basically.
Hmm.
Okay, and just trying to follow his whatever he said to do. You know, just trying to take your time off and trying to not do this, trying to just concentrate yourself on some other stuff, and I believe that's the best advice. You know, just trying to not get anything in your head, because if you let that get in your head, that's when you're gonna start failing, and you don't want that because you can make more damage to yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So
And
much
I
gold in
hope I
there.
hope everything. I hope this injury that happened to me and uh, you know in some way can help all your listeners, or anybody who feel like they need some kind of positive advice.
Hmm.
Yeah, and as I said before, man, I'm very lucky. I'm a positive guy, and I'm trying to stay that way. You know,
Amen to
and
that. Amen to that. Well, Raul,
and
thanks again. Oh, go ahead.
No. Thank you so much for the invitation, and anytime if you ever need to talk to me again, just let me know.
We'll do it. But anyway, thank you so much for listening and for joining us today for this conversation. If you know someone who's going through injury, make sure you share this with them. And just until next time, keep trusting the process. Thanks for listening today. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. To see a full bio for our guest today, see the show notes, or go to our website at trusttheprocesspodcast.com. Make sure you share this with a musician you care about who is going through injury, a music educator in your life, or anyone just trying to make it in life. If you have a suggestion for a guest or topic to cover, shoot me an email at trustprocesspodcast@gmail.com or send me a message on Facebook or Instagram. Before we go, I just want to give a heartfelt thank you and shout out to my team. Daniel Baldwin, who is my audio engineer, Kevin West, who does all music and sound effects for the show, Peyton Womack, our website developer, and my sister, Dana Lovell, who created the logo and promotional materials. We wouldn't have the show without them. So tune in next time for another episode of Trust the Process.